an interesting story. So there was one animal. It's a little bit of a story, but I'm going to take you into it, right? And it's actually one of the biggest regrets I ever had in my filming career with wildlife. Now, I've told the story a couple of times. So I was in Kenya. I was 23 years old, and I was there with a guide who was about the same age as me. And essentially, I had a list of animals that I wanted to go out and capture, one of which was a savannah baboon. And you're probably thinking right now, like, you don't fuck with baboons. They're one of the animals that you just don't fuck with. And unfortunately for like a lot of the content that I produce on YouTube, like I'll be the first person to catch this type of animal or first person to catch that. So there was no actual tutorial where I could learn how to handle or catch a fucking baboon, let alone like a large primate. And obviously I'd had no experience here in Australia because we don't have primates here. So I really threw myself into the deep end. So what happened was this. I went to a local wildlife park, which was about 20 minutes away from Nairobi. Right? It's like one of those dodgy kind of fucking wildlife parks. And I went there looking to find someone to get advice on how to handle baboons. When I got there to this park, there were two young men that came out, right? These two young Kenyan men. And I introduced myself. Hey, my name's Andrew Ucles. I'm from Australia. I'm a wildlife documentarian. And I want someone to show me how to handle baboons. I'm more than willing to pay them, whatever it's going to cost and da-da-da. So he took me to the back of the zoo and they had some baboons there. But the thing is, they were somewhat tame and habituated. I said, no. I want to learn to handle a wild fucking baboon, right? And so the guy was like, right, and they just the place. So we went about 5 minutes from the zoo and he had like a box trap set up, like those mesh box trap kind of things. And so we went down there, we set it up with like fruit and pears and all that kind of stuff. He goes, look, what we'll do, we'll have the trap set. When we catch something, we'll give you a call. Literally the next day, I swear it would have been like fucking 5:30 in the morning. As soon as the fucking sun was up, I had a call. Andrew, we have a baboon, right? So I'm thinking to myself, fuck, we're on. So I grab my guide, we drive down to this location, meet up with these two guys, and we go down to this plantation of where they'd set the trap. And from the second I locked eyes with that fucking animal, it started instilling fear into me. Like this baboon was fucking going off the fucking cages, it was holding on. And I started really getting fucking nervous, you know what I mean? Particularly when you're dealing with animals I haven't dealt with before, there's a sense of nervousness that I have in me. And I think that's completely natural, even for someone such as myself.
Absolutely, that's natural. That is okay.
Right. So here I am. There's this baboon, which it probably stands around about maybe 80 centimeters off the ground. You see it like they've got like a muzzle, like a dog. And as we're getting closer and closer to the cage, the bastard's trying to psych me out. So what baboons will do is I'll kind of look away and then they'll look at you. And then I'll look away and then they'll look at you. And then they'll show you their teeth. So they're just trying to, they're trying to over-dominate the situation. So at this point, I turned to the two guys and we're like right on the fucking cage. And this thing's like almost like a fucking wild bird in the cage. It's bouncing off, it's grabbing, it's biting the mesh. And I'm thinking to myself, how the fuck am I going to get in control of this animal? Well, how the fuck are these guys going to get in control of the animal? These are the guys which are supposed to be teaching me. So anyway, I was paying them to teach me how to do this. And I said, all right, tell me what I have to do. And they're like, look, we want you to get on top of the cage trap, lift up the door. I'm going to get it by the tail. And then my friend is going to pin it down with like a fork stick. And then I'm going to grab it by the arms and da-da-da and all this kind of stuff. He was going for the whole procedure with me. And I'm kind of like half listening at the same time, thinking to myself like, fuck. Shit can go wrong really quick here, right? And one of the worst decisions I made in my filming career was not to turn the fucking camera on because, I'm like the wildlife guru. Like I'm supposed to have the skill set that I can step into any country and can do whatever. And it was one of the biggest fucking regrets I've made was not turning the fucking camera on, which was on the tripod fucking behind me. But I said to my guide, I said, look, once he teaches me how to handle it, we'll get it back in the cage, then I'll do it on my own accord. Fair enough. Right. So I've jumped on top of this fucking cage. I've lifted up the cage door. This guy's went in. He's grabbed it by the fucking tail. This baboon is fucking holding onto the cage and fucking just going off. Like the birds are fucking flying off. And mate, it was like causing the greatest natural vocal fucking orchestra that you've ever
causing a
heard.
scene.
Mate. So what he's done is he's grabbed it by the tail. He's fucking pulled it out from the cage. The other guy's screaming, come answering behind him. The baboon's trying to grab him, right? And the first thing that came to my fucking mind was, won't this animal use its tail as a leverage point to pull itself up? You know how primates use their tails to climb up and stuff? But obviously, because the animal was so heavy, it couldn't do that. So anyway, this guy's got up by the tail and he's doing these ones, and the baboon's trying to fucking get him. And the baboon's realised, it's thought to himself, he's like, right, so I know I can't fucking reach you, but I know how I'm going to get you. So what it's done is it's managed to grab on to the side of the door where the cage was. It's pulled itself in like this, and then it's jumped off. And it's landed on his chest, and it's went to bite his face. And in that split moment that it's went to bite his face, he's managed to get his arm across his face to protect him. So the baboon's bit him here, right? This all happened in around about 0.01 of a second, right? A microsecond. And at that point, I was standing behind him. So the baboon's bit him, and he's turned like that towards me. So all of a sudden, this fucking baboon's in front of me. The first thing I thought of was, I've got to fucking grab this fucking thing by the shoulders and pull it off him, essentially. And I remember in the split second that I grabbed it by the shoulders and started pulling, the power of that animal, and I'm talking like I was in shock and adrenaline trying to pull this animal off him. The power of that animal holding on to him was fucking unbelievable. Like, imagine like a kid at the age of 10 holding on for fucking dear life, right? So anyway, I've grabbed this animal. I've managed to just get it off him. And as I've gotten it off him, the animal's tried to go for me. So it's tried to grab me with its back legs. I'm obviously screaming at this point in time because I'm not in control either. Drop the animal, and then it takes off. Now, I've turned around to assess the injuries, and this African guy's walked off holding his arm like this, going, fuck, screaming. And I said, relax, everything's under control, all good. Just show me what's happened. I remember he came over to me like this, and he's put his hand like that. And you know when you take like a bite out of an apple, but it's not like a complete bite. It's like a chunk with like a flap kind of falls down kind of thing. Yeah. So he's done that, mate, and the blood was just fucking pissing out. So I took my shirt off, I bandaged him up, and anyway, there's a moral to this story. There's a couple of morals to this story. Starting with this, is as I was driving into Nairobi Hospital, the main hospital, I'd found out that he was a volunteer worker. That was the first baboon that he had ever handled. He had absolutely no inoculations whatsoever. The person who owned the zoo was on holidays and had his nephews taking care of the animals, essentially. So they had no fucking animal training whatsoever. That day I learned a couple of lessons, one of which was never pay an African man to do something because he'll always tell you he's a fucking expert, right? He'll always tell you he's an expert. And the second thing is, don't fuck with primates. We're talking about an animal that can use its right hand as good as its left hand. They're ambidextrous. Their visual acuity is fucking amazing. Their reaction speed's amazing. And they're just a fucking gnarly animal. You know what I mean? Like,
well, they say that about chimps too. Like, there's the stories from America that people keep chimps as pets, and they break out and they eat people's faces off, and they just got this supreme strength. And you go to like, well, I've only ever seen one on a zoo, obviously, but like the silverback gorilla, this giant, looking like it's got armor plating on it, a terrifying creature. But just looks like it's just so strong. It looks like a bodybuilder, and yet it does fuck all. It's crazy.
Pull your arms off.
Fucking open.